Well, Treveyon Henderson was electric tonight, and I did tell some people to sit him, which is not good because he ended up getting a hat trick, which was absolutely fantastic. He looked excellent tonight. So I was really impressed with Treveyon Henderson. And really, that's kind of about it. I mean, Drake May did look good as a thrower. Justin Fields got an early touchdown. But I mean, other than that, really, there's not too much that went on in this game. It ended up being a little bit more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. So was definitely happy about that. But we'll go ahead and get into the recap. Like the video, subscribe to the channel to show your support. And let's just go through the Jets side of the ball because it's pretty ugly. Justin Fields. So Justin Fields, he does nothing else besides on the first drive getting a rushing touchdown. And for a brief moment, it kind of had us thinking, are we about to get a good, fun game from Justin Fields tonight? And I was thinking, nobody probably played this guy. I mean, there's very few people. Ironically, I actually am playing against him in a dynasty league tonight. So I was kind of like, outside of that, nobody else. Throws for 116 yards tonight, which is, double what he did last week? I mean, it was, impressive for his standards, I guess. Guys, I mean, just the short answer is Justin Fields is not good at football. Like, I'm sorry to say that because I've always been a Justin Fields guy. I've always wanted him to succeed. I love the athlete he is, but he's just not a good passer. And it was very much on display tonight. There was one point, and I'll kind of cover it more. But there was one play, he threw a really nice ball to his receiver, and he dropped it. And I was thinking to myself, man, you cannot afford to drop those because you don't get many of those right on the money, over-the-shoulder deep throws. And for the rest of the night, he couldn't deliver that once again. So you just kind of have to take the best that Justin Fields can give you, and you've got to execute. And obviously, without Garrett Wilson for the time being, they're never going to get that. So Garrett Wilson completely leaves an enormous hole in this offense for obvious reasons. And Justin Fields at this point, I mean, he's nothing more than a streaming quarterback anyways. Nobody thought of him differently. So, you just continue to think about it like that. Rushing the ball, Justin Fields was their best rusher, and this was a concern I had coming into the game. Breece Hall, my whole thing with him is that matchup comes into play a lot. And even when the matchup, in theory, is good, I'm not convinced it is because of the fact that this is a team that can lose to anybody, right? Like, we all know that. Number two is because Breece Hall is also the type of player that can get a big run at any point. Tonight, he just didn't hit the big play. He had a couple solid runs to move the sticks, but Breece Hall was not in big play, range. Like, he did not hit on a big, massive play, and that's really what kind of saves you at this point if you play Breece. Like, if he hits a big one, yes, he can do something with it, but if he doesn't hit a big one, like, it's just not going to work. So I just kind of, we're at this point with Breece where you just kind of have to acknowledge what he is. He's a risky running back to play. And I get it. Like, he can pop off and give you 20-plus point upside, but it is not every week. And matchup, I would like to say, plays a part in it. I'm not quite sure it does because he's just on one of the worst offenses in football. And when you're on that bad of an offense, all you can really do is hope for a big play. That's what Breece Hall is doing this year. And it sucks. I wanted him out of the Jets so bad, but he's here for the rest of the year, and he's going to be doing stuff like this. The past 2 weeks is going to be kind of a mixture of what goes on the rest of the year. John Mechie caught a touchdown pass, completely broken play. That was the only touchdown pass that Fields threw. So, from a fantasy perspective, Fields actually had a good day. It was complete luck. Like, the defender fell down, he tripped on the play, and John Mechie just ended up wide open in the end zone. Like, all Justin Fields had to do was just, throw him a touch pass. And luckily he could deliver that because he couldn't deliver much else tonight. So John Mechie, I mean, this room in the Jets, I'll tell you this. John Mechie's not the Jets receiver you would want if you were to get one. Mason Taylor is in this position to where everybody thinks he's really good, and I have not been impressed. And I wanted to like him because he's the son of a Hall of Fame player, Jason Taylor. And Jason Taylor, when I was growing up, really good player. Now his sister Joy, she's a different story a little bit. So Mason Taylor, though, I mean, I don't know what to say. He just is he doesn't look very good, and like outside of one or two games, like it's been a big nothing. A big nothing burger is what we've gotten from Mason Taylor. So I don't really expect much different moving forward with Mason Taylor. He's just like a streaming tight end option. Certain times he'll do something, other times he won't do anything. And tonight, solid PPR performance, but I mean, if you're counting on a big play from Mason Taylor, don't count on a big play. This is a guy who is going to get short targets, and you have to maximize on those short targets. Like, he is a guy that will only provide you upside if he gets a bunch of short targets. That's the bottom line. I'll tell you this. The wide receiver you would want, if you would take any of them, is Adonai Mitchell. Tonight, he was their number one. Like, he was kind of serving in that Garrett Wilson role for the Jets tonight. Now, he's no Garrett Wilson. I mean, the one play that could have broken Adonai Mitchell's night and maybe changed some fortunes a little bit for this offense that I was talking about with Justin Fields. And Justin Fields threw a dime to Adonai Mitchell over the shoulder right here. And Adonai Mitchell dropped it. And it's like, dude, you do not first of all, that pass was excellent. Like, that's an extremely hard pass to throw. And by the way, the Patriots knew that they were going to use him like this too, because Christian Gonzalez, they're a corner who's quickly stepping into the cornerback tier of guys I take into account with wide receivers. Adonai Mitchell was being followed all night by Christian Gonzalez. And he threw it right over Christian Gonzalez's head and dropped it right in the bucket for Adonai Mitchell, and he dropped it. But I will say this, they kept going back to him. And I remember thinking, watching this game, they're probably not going to go back to him. Like, he just dropped that. And so I don't think they're going to go back to him. But they did. They kept going back to him over and over again. And that's what makes me think, if there was a receiver you want, because Garrett Wilson placed on the IR today, he will miss the next 3 games at least, right? Including tonight. So Garrett Wilson being out leaves a void that could be filled in some weeks. I think the pass catcher, not just the wide receiver, the pass catcher I think you want is Adonai Mitchell. I really do believe that. Like, he was being used and targeted like he was their number one, and he was being treated like he was their number one wide receiver by Christian Gonzalez being on him the whole night. So keep an eye on Adonai Mitchell. You don't need to pick him up or anything right now. He's not a priority ad or anything, but it could be one of those. You just use our automatic waiver tool to go pick him up after priority waiver claims run, and then just have him on your roster. And you could set that, set the clock at next week to go pick him up. So yeah, I think that is a really big one as well to keep an eye on. And Breece Hall was uninvolved as a receiver tonight. So, Breece Hall is just, again, he needs to hit the big play or else it's going to look like tonight. The Patriots side of the ball, the fun side. Drake May was very good. Probably not going to put in the best fantasy performance, though. And I did say this. My whole thing with Treveyon, before we get into him, is that I was concerned that if this game got out of hand very quickly, that there was going to be a small window where a Patriot, someone was going to be left out, right? So either it was going to be Treveyon because they passed it, and got 3 touchdowns through the air, or they were going to run the ball. And that was my concern with Treveyon. I should have factored it into Drake May as well, because Drake May is not going to be the number one quarterback on the week, and that's where I ranked him at. So a bummer there, but Drake May looks really good. I mean, if you want to take something away, Drake May is a legitimate, steady quarterback one in fantasy. I mean, he looks really good. Really good. So I'm very impressed with Drake May, the player. And I think the fantasy player, there's going to be better weeks than this where they have to compete all game. It wasn't as big of a blowout as it could have been. This game could have been 35-14 or 40-14, but the Patriots definitely kept their foot off of the gas at a certain point. Tyler Sperry, appreciate the super chat. I will get to it once I go through all the breakdown here. But yeah, Drake May, I do think that, I don't know. I think that Drake May is in good position moving forward in fantasy. When they're in more competitive games, and there's going to be more competitive games than this, Drake May is going to do really well in fantasy. And he didn't do terrible tonight, but he won't be the quarterback one. So I should have seen that coming and seen it as a possibility for May as well. Because Treveyon Henderson, the night was about him. We didn't see any of Terrell Jennings tonight. There was none of that. So my whole concern was, just to give some backstory on this, before the game, I was concerned about the possibility that this game got out of hand and that Treveyon Henderson, if he hadn't hit a couple, like a touchdown or two before they pulled him, it was not going to be good. Well, that sort of happened, right? Like Dearness Johnson started getting work towards the end of the game. But even Treveyon came back in, like on certain important downs where they wanted to move the chains. Like he came back in the game and he was obviously dominant. Freaking hat trick for the guy. And I told most people to start him, but I did tell some people, like, I'd play Quinshon Judkins over him. That one probably will not age well, unfortunately. Like, that one is not going to age well. Treveyon, all I can hope for is that I love Mike Vrabel so much. I think he's a great... I mean, the reason they're 9-2 is because of Vrabel. Like, that is the importance of coaching right there. Look at the Patriots last year and look at them this year. That's how much coaching matters in the NFL. But I will say this, he is slow with his rookies. And that's why we haven't seen this from Treveyon yet, because it's always been there. But man, it's coming through now. And I hope to God when Ramondre comes back that they don't turn the tide on us and say, yeah, you know what? We're going to pull him. We're going to play Ramondre most of the time. We'll give Treveyon 30% of the snaps, but he's not going to come in as much. I hope to God this is real and that this stays. Because it's real. It's real. 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games. That's real. Like, there is no getting around that. The question is, do they continue this? Because if Ramondre comes back and they choose to give him more work, it's just going to start this whole tire fire, like, not tire fire, but it's going to start this whole conversation in my head again, because I know Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, by the way, they're both of the same mentality, that Patriots way, where we bring our rookies on slow. That's what they do. So I worry about Treveyon in the long term, but man, I just hope what he did in his 2 games as their real starter was enough for Vrabel to be like, you know what, stop fooling around. Like, I got to use this guy. And because he unlocks our offense, it gives us a whole new explosive element that you just don't get with Ramondre. Ramondre, I think, should have a role in the offense, but for fantasy purposes, man, I mean, if Treveyon is like even a 50-50 split with Ramondre, Treveyon is most likely going to be the guy that you want. I just hope they continue to ride him because he looks excellent. Treveyon Henderson for the win, man. Stephon Diggs had a good night. Stephon Diggs, 9 catches, 105 yards. That's a really good night. I honestly kind of, at one point during the game, I looked down at my phone and I saw that Stephon Diggs had 9 for 105. And it kind of shocked me. I was like, wow, he really has that many catches? Because I feel like I saw a lot of Matt Collins, a lot of Hunter Henry, some Demario Douglas. And we did, but like there was a lot to Diggs that I just kind of, I guess, just didn't like retain throughout that game. So, yeah, it was interesting. Diggs, 2 games without Boutte has been pretty good in fantasy. So you do have to factor that in. And I do think that without Boutte, like, he's a clear start. But with him, it gets a little dicey, right? Because they tried to get Kyle Williams involved tonight. That didn't work on both of the deep shots that they took to him. So Stephon Diggs is still their possession receiver. And he's going to get a lot of those, like, types of targets. And he actually dropped one that would have been a big play for like 15 to 20 yards. And it would have been a much better night, but he still had a good one. Like, you can't complain about 19 points in a full PPR format from Diggs. Like, that's good stuff. So I think Diggs was, it's just going to be similar to Treveyon and Ramondre. When Boutte is back, what does that look like? Because if it looks like what it's looked like the majority of the season, you're going to have more games where Diggs takes a dump on you. And it wasn't a good idea to play Stephon Diggs. there will be more moments like that when Boutte comes back in all likelihood. So if you played him past 2 weeks, you're probably pretty happy. But moving forward, when Boutte comes back, I say proceed with caution. Matt Collins, man. I mean, I drafted like some of this guy in best ball because no one else was doing it. And I thought it would set apart my roster. And it kind of is. Like, Matt Collins hasn't hit the big play. Because usually Matt Collins, like his years in Buffalo, many people probably even know who Matt Collins is. Matt Collins is in his 30s. And the guy played with Buffalo, you know, for a long time. Not that long, actually. Probably like 3 or 4 years or something like that. And he was only used as like a big play threat down the field, like on deep balls. Matt Collins has been used as like an over the middle wide receiver and has just been used as more of a traditional wideout. And it's kind of interesting to watch. Like, he's become a really kind of key piece to this offense. So Matt Collins is kind of one of those guys where I'm like, should I advise people to pick, like, to at least contemplate picking up off waivers? I'm kind of at that point with him. Again, it's in the same category as Boutte. When Boutte comes back, what happens? Because Matt Collins went through a lot of times where he was irrelevant with Boutte and Diggs there. Like, we know that the pecking order is Diggs or Boutte. And then outside of that, it gets really weird, right? Matt Collins sometimes has good games. Demario Douglas had a couple good games. Kyle Williams probably goes back to irrelevancy once Boutte comes back. So he shakes up a lot of things. I'll probably wait to see what happens with Matt Collins when Boutte comes back before I advise people to pick him up. But I would say keep him on your fantasy radar. Hunter Henry turns in a decent night for fantasy. About 8.5 fantasy points in a full PPR format. Not bad. Respectable tight end numbers right there. I mean, this is just kind of always par for the course of what you can get from Hunter. Sometimes they'll get touchdowns as well, but, you know, there's, again, times where he's just not as involved. And last week was one of those times he wasn't involved, but this week he actually was involved plenty. And they pretty much moved the ball with ease tonight. Demario Douglas, you know, again, this is not a fantasy relevant guy. I would say at this point, Matt Collins, my radar is up with him on fantasy more than it is with Douglas. Douglas continues to be a big play guy / a short yardage wide receiver. Not one you can rely on a weekly basis, but one who can give you like a massive spike week at any time. So Douglas continues to be that type of guy. And then Hendo, again, 5 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, please, God, please, don't put him back on the bench. Please do not do that, Mike Vrabel. I like you a lot. I am a big fan of yours, Mike Vrabel. You've done great things with the Tennessee Titans, who now look like a tire fire, and you've immediately whipped this team right into shape. So I don't want to doubt you, but at this point with 5 touchdowns through 2 games, how can you put this guy back on the bench? Please do not do that to us in fantasy football. That's all I ask of tonight. You can put Diggs in a more role type of player, role whenever Boutte comes back. Same thing with Hollins, but do not touch our precious Treveyon because we've been waiting a long time to see what we're seeing right now. So that's basically it. Patriots defense ended up doing pretty well in fantasy. They got a fumble off of Justin Fields. They did okay, actually. They're not going to be the number 1 defense on the week either. So not the best defense to play, not the worst. And then the Jets defense, why would you ever play them, right? That's going to do it for the breakdown. Appreciate everyone being here. Let's go through the super chats I got really quick and then get out of here. Tyler Sperry, appreciate the super chat. Hey, if I have Stafford and Kyron, would you play the Rams defense and the Seahawks? The Seahawks versus the Rams or the Eagles? I think if you have Stafford and Kyron, I probably wouldn't want to play the Seahawks defense. If it was only one of them, I would say I don't really care that much. Because, like, Kyron Williams, for example, can get in the end zone one time and have, like, 50 or 70 yards on the ground, and that defense could still be a good play. But if Stafford plays well, that kind of changes the game. Because it's like, it's either Stafford's going to do well and the Seahawks defense won't do well, or the Seahawks defense will do well and Matt Stafford won't. One of those two things is going to happen. So you probably want to stay away from the Seahawks defense and play the Rams defense. that's a defense I would play over the Eagles. I think that Detroit's offense, man, is one I want to stay away from. They switched play callers. It paid off last week. I'll probably stay away from the Eagles defense this week. And I'll play the Rams. Appreciate the super chat. IO, appreciate the super chat. Purdy or Caleb or Brissett. Burrow on IR and rest of season. So rest of season, in a vacuum, Caleb to me is the best, even with Burrow. I don't think you need 3 quarterbacks, and Caleb to me is the easiest answer. Like, to me, your roster should persist of Caleb for now and Burrow in potential spike weeks. Like, that's what your roster should consist of. Purdy has trade value. You could trade the guy, but Brissett, you could just drop him. To me, I think that Caleb has the highest upside of the bunch. Purdy's a good play this week, but I would still play Caleb because we've just seen it a lot more. And with Purdy, we have no idea what his mobility will look like when he gets back. So I'd rather just kind of take a wait-and-see approach with Purdy if I can afford to do so. And in your situation, I think you can because of Caleb. Appreciate the super chat. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for tonight, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel on your way out. And before you're out as well, if you do want to be a kind supporter over here at fsroundup.com, go sign up for the premium subscription. Get access to my top 270 rankings this week, the automatic waiver tool, the comparison feature, and the league sync up feature as well. And I guess we'll do one more question since we got Adrian's super chat. Hey, Ryan, I have Swift, but pick one flex. Half PPR 14-man league. Hunt, Monungai, or Bill? Is it worth stashing Algier? So for me, I'd go ahead and play Hunt over Monungai. I do think that Hunt probably has the higher ceiling because he clearly is the RB1. I don't love the matchup this week, but Kansas City's offense and off a bye week, I do just tend to trust more than most defenses. So I'll play Kareem Hunt over Monungai, who would be second. I would play over Bill. Because Bill, to me, like, he just looks bad. I mean, Bill, it's over for me with Bill. Like, I've already dropped him in my leagues. I do not have any of Bill. And I just don't. Like, in a 14-man league, it makes more sense to have Bill. He's still like a top 40-ish running back option. But for me, he's out of my top 30 for good. Like, I can't see him coming back in right now. So, yeah, for me, I'd go with Hunt over Monungai over Bill. And it is the worst stashing Algier. To me, it is. To me, like, I'd personally stash Algier than Bill. That's just me. Like, I would personally go ahead and keep Monungai and Algier. Because I've been talking about this for weeks with Algier. He is a guy that gets plenty of work. Like, it doesn't matter if Bijan's out there or not. Because they will take him off the field for Algier. And Algier's had quite a few rushing touchdowns this year. Like, if you look at the Falcons on the season, they've been pretty Algier heavy at the goal line. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns compared to Bijan's 2. So, like, Tyler Algier is consistently a red zone threat. And there was a comment that Raheem Morris made, I think, over the past week, basically saying, like, Tyler Algier is the most under-discussed superstar on our team. That's pretty high praise. And Raheem Morris, more of a, like, I think, like, fake positive type of guy, the way I kind of read it. Maybe it's not fake, but he's a very, like, optimistic guy. So maybe he's just blowing smoke. But, I mean, Algier has been used like they like him. So you do have to factor that in. And, yeah, I think Algier's been really good. And he's worth having over Bill, to be honest with you. Appreciate the super chat. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Team breakdown's also available if you want that full team breakdown from me like I was doing on the live stream that night. You could get the full breakdown, detailed analysis, personalized advice for your roster, trade recommendations, waiver wire acquisitions to make, anything to make your team better for the playoffs. That's also available on the site as well. And start sit poll completely free. So, love you guys. I'll see you in here for tomorrow's video, which I think a lot of people will appreciate because it's a little different tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's video. Peace out, guys.